Good morning, Year 9. My name is Mr. Boff, of course, and I'm going to be going through every single Monday your weekly exam preparation homework that's going to lead you up to your end of year exams for English. So you'll be watching these in the morning during tutor time with your exam preparation booklets open. Now, for the retrieval questions, that's perhaps rather more straightforward, but where these videos are going to be really key are when you are completing the longer form responses. So we're going to be looking in the course of today's video at sort of what is required of you in the actual exams, in your end of year exams. We don't want there to be any surprises whatsoever. We're going to be very transparent about what you're going to be expected to accomplish in both of the papers you'll be sitting. And I'm going to, in these videos, going to go through how to approach the longer form responses, give you some guidance, some top tips, deconstruct the tasks, those sorts of things. So the first thing is, and a very reasonable question it is too, which is what will my end of year exams actually involve? So you're going to be sitting two papers, as you can see. Now, the first paper is going to kind of culminate in a poetry comparison. So the comparison will involve you completing a comparison of two conflict poems, and you're kind of in the midst of the study of those conflict poems as I am indeed recording this video. The second paper will focus on Macbeth, and you'll be a couple of weeks, when you actually sit paper two, you'll be a couple of weeks into your study of Macbeth, so you will only be assessed on the first act of the play. Okay, now there are 5 acts in the play, and you'll only be assessed on Act 1, because as I say, you'll just be a couple of weeks into your study of Macbeth. So, that's what you're going to be assessed on. Those are the things that you need to know. These are the things, therefore, we can prepare for really thoroughly and revise. And that's where the exam preparation booklet comes in. Now, you'll notice the exam preparation booklet for every subject area, but obviously I'm speaking specifically for English now. You've got these things called learning summaries, and you can see on the screen, you've got a screenshot of what they look like. Okay? Now, these learning summaries include key information, key knowledge, if you will, that you need to know and be able to demonstrate in your actual exams. Now, these learning summaries, they've got lots in them, loads of really important stuff in them, lots of important knowledge that you need to commit to your memory to be able to then use and adapt and employ as you see fit and as is needed in the actual exams. They're not, however, completely exhaustive. They don't include absolutely every single thing you need to know, so they're not exhaustive, but they are comprehensive. They have much of what you will need, especially the really key information. Now, the final bullet point you can see there, that's very important to me. If we are to commit knowledge to our long-term memory, and that is what we want to be doing, because committing things to our long-term memory, another word for that might be learning, okay? If we want things to go into our long-term memory, we have to be very conscious and self-aware in terms of putting them in our long-term memory. So how do we actually accomplish that? We do that through generative revision exercises. By generative, I mean you have to call on your memory. You have to do that normally through a process called self-testing, rather than just sort of copying stuff out. That's not generative. You're not kind of generating the knowledge, or at least recalling actively the knowledge in your mind if you're just copying out notes. So, for example, if you were to just write out the learning summaries, that's not generative. What would be generative would be making some flashcards, then giving them to your mum or dad or stepmom or grandma or friend or carer, whoever it might be, and saying, right, test me on those. So they might say, right, okay, well, on one side of the flashcard, it says Macbeth. And then on the other side, okay, it's going to have all of the knowledge that you need about that character. And as you can see on the learning summary, you've got aspects of Macbeth's character detailed and listed with some textual examples as quotations, right? So you would say, right, okay, test me. And the person who's testing you would go, okay, Macbeth, tell me what you know about Macbeth. And you might go, right, at the beginning of the play, he's presented as this brave, loyal, very kind of impressive, but also unsettlingly violent warrior. We know that he unseams a traitor called MacDonald. We know he unseams him on the battlefield from the knave to the chops. That's the quotation. Okay. But then you might go, I've forgotten something else about Macbeth. I've forgotten how he's how he responds, for example, to the witches in Act 1, Scene 3. Can't quite remember that. So the person going, oh, yeah, well, actually, what you needed to remember was this. And they'd remind you. And you go, all right, okay, fine. Then you might leave it a day and you go, right, oh, mum, dad, grandma, whoever, test me again. And you go, oh, yeah, I remember now. I'd forgotten how he responds to the witches. I've forgotten that in terms of the witches, he is extremely eager to hear what they have to say. He's very receptive to what the witches have to say. And that's really different. His friend, his comrade on the battlefield, Banquo, is much more skeptical and questioning, whereas Macbeth kind of goes straight for it. Why does he respond to the witches like that? He does so because of his vaulting ambition. Okay? And you go, oh, yeah, I've remembered it now. So it's that process of revisiting knowledge and not just reading it off a card, not just making the flashcards. That's not the revision task. The revision task is the self-testing, and it needs to be self-testing where you can't see the answers. You have to think of them in your own mind. So the learning summaries are structured and organized, often into tables, to facilitate things like flashcards and so on. You can even if you don't make flashcards, just give the exam preparation booklet to a friend or a family member and say, grandma, granddad, whoever it is, you carer, your stepmom, whoever it might be, test me. And they go, right, okay. And they just read off it. Okay. And they go, right, tell me about Lady Macbeth. What do you know about her in Act 1? Oh, well, I know these things. That's great, but you've forgotten these couple of things. Don't forget that in future, and I'll test you again tomorrow. That's how it should work. Next. So this is tonight's homework, week 10, okay? And it's a set of retrieval questions. Now, I've spoken quite a bit about Macbeth, and you can see that there are questions, and if you're actually having a look at week 10 in your actual physical copy on the desk in front of you, you'll see there are questions on Macbeth. Now, you might be, and you'd be well within your rights to say this, you go, hang on a second, I've not studied Macbeth yet. I don't know anything about Macbeth. Okay, I don't know the plot, I don't know the characters, I only really know the name of the play. We've not even been taught it in school. We've thought about that, we've recognised that, but we want you to get ahead, and we also want to start getting you in the habit of doing what our fantastic year 10s are currently doing, which is listening to our at least weekly, sometimes I produce more than that, at least weekly episodes of study sessions, our own in-house St. George's English Literature Revision podcast. So with that in mind, and also bearing in mind how popular the episodes were for the mid-year assessments for year 8 and year 9, I've made another one. So this is an episode, as you can see there, it's just under 20 minutes long, and it's an introduction to Macbeth. It sets up most of Act 1, in fact, all of Act 1. It goes through what happens. It sets up many of the play's key themes, key concerns, why Shakespeare is focusing so intently on the witches in the opening, for example. And the idea is that by listening to this episode that I've specially recorded for you, that you will then have the knowledge to be able to answer the questions that are on that first week, week 10 of those retrieval questions. Okay? Now, lots of the answers to these retrieval questions are also in the learning summaries. So if you combine reading through the learning summaries, obviously checking through those in detail, plus it's non-negotiable, you've got to listen to the episode as well. Those two things together will help you answer all of the questions that are listed in week 10 of those retrieval questions, which is, of course, tonight's homework. Now, that then begs a subsequent question, which is, how do I actually access the podcast? And there are loads of easy ways of doing that. So there's a QR code. Now, we're not going to be getting our phones out in class, but I'll be sending these slides home as a PDF, so you can scan that. You've also got some clickable links there, or I've used TinyURL to make the link shorter, so you can just type that in if that's easier. Or you can go to YouTube, because all of the latest episodes, including the one I've just mentioned, are uploaded to the Study Sessions YouTube channel. Or, failing all of that, Study Sessions gets pushed to Spotify and also Apple Podcasts, as well as having its own website, which is via the TinyURL link. So you've got lots of different ways of accessing the podcast. You can watch it on YouTube, you can listen to it on Spotify, you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, or you can listen to it within its own dedicated webpage. You've got loads of different options there. So that's tonight's homework. So just to reiterate, yes, it's the retrieval questions. Yes, they're on Macbeth, but you have the podcast episode in conjunction with the learning summary that's going to help you answer all those questions. Okay. It's going to make it much more straightforward. Hopefully, I think you'll enjoy the episode as well. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope you'll get a lot out of it. And the added bonus is that when you do come to start your study of Macbeth in our final half term together of the third term, you'll have a bit of a head start. You'll be able to kind of know, oh, right, yeah, I kind of have an idea of what's happening in Act 1. So it'll give you a bit of confidence too when you embark upon your study of Macbeth in Year 9. Okay, so any questions, please let me know, or indeed, please speak to your English teacher. Of course, they're always there to help too. They've got the exam preparation booklet. They've seen this video. They know what's going on. So you can ask them, or you can come and approach me. Okay, best of luck, and I will see you next Monday for the next video and the next bit of revision homework.